Wow. Hi, this is Reg Athwal, and welcome back to our channel. For those of you loyal followers, for those of you new, enjoy. If you haven't been here before, we've got many show series, and today's all about family business legacies. And today we have a second generation business that we're going to do a deep dive into. And my guest today that I'll be introducing to you formally now is Mr. Sameer Gupta. He's the chairman and managing director of Jakson Group, which is one of India's leading distribution energy, solar, and EPC solutions companies. In fact, probably number one right now across India. I'll share a few facts later. Sameer is a second generation entrepreneur. Business was founded by his father. He also works alongside his brother, which we'll talk about later as well. The business was established in 1947, 73 years old, I believe, with 4 manufacturing facilities now, 3 independent solar power plants, 40 sales offices, grown from India to Bangladesh to Nepal, Singapore, UAE, and across Africa continent, and employs now 2,200 people with 5 core business units serving 45,000 customers with 52 channel partners. I'll share more facts later. Sameer is very active with his learning. He's also been a past chairman of the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, I believe, in the northern region. And he's also an alumni member of the Harvard Business School. So on that note, let's find out more about Jakson Group and the second generation family business. Please welcome to our show, Sameer Gupta. Welcome.
Thank you, Athwal. Thank you for such a generous introduction. A pleasure to have connected and happy to interact with you today.
I really appreciate it. Well, I don't hang around with my questions, Sameer. I'm going to go straight in. What's it like being a second generation member working with your father? We hear a lot of case studies around the world with family businesses where people struggle, next generation struggle working with their parents. So tell us what's worked, what hasn't worked, what have been some of the learnings or challenges on this journey until you've taken that baton on and now become the chairman and MD?
So it has been a very interesting journey, as a matter of fact. Fortunately, the way my father thinks is pretty different. And he gave us literally all the liberty to do whatever we wanted to, right since the beginning. I joined this business in 1990 after graduating. I did my B in electronics. My brother joined after 2 years, and thereafter we were deeply involved. We were both of us were deeply into technology. We used to love traveling with a purpose, with the objective of learning what's happening around the world. And I remember way back in 1995, I guess, we did a homegrown ERP, which we used for good 10 years before we migrated to SAP. So that was the kind of deep commitment to technology both my brother and I had. And somewhere in year 2000, my father almost passed on the baton to us. He's still involved with the engineering college, no longer with the business though.
Right.
And it was, I think he realized pretty early that yes, it's good for the next generation to take over. And he didn't question or look into any of our decisions thereafter. Ever since 2000, he must have noticed the huge commitment we both had towards the business. And very early on, there were quite a few learnings from him, by the way. I remember after graduating, when I came back home to Delhi, the first thing what he told was, never be slave to money, and money got to be byproduct of right work and hard work. Right. That's something, those words are kind
That's
of...
good. I like that. That's a good principle. What other principles do you think he gave to you from a young age? Because sometimes the impact that parents have on us for a family business to continue from one generation to the next, a lot of the seeds are planted the first 14 years of our life. So what other things did you observe or mimic or see your father do that had an impact on you?
So that's what, in first couple of years, I would say this was one of the things which got embedded. Then one of the things he always used to say, customer is king, and honor all commitments what you'll end up making to the customer, be it verbal or in writing. That's a material. Commitment is a commitment. And there was an interesting lesson I learned, by the way. After just 2 years of my experience working with my dad, immediately after graduating, I was working with my father. I didn't get a chance to, formally work for some other company or get internship done somewhere else.
Mhm.
And during these 2 years, I remember after 2 years of working with him, I quoted for a project. It was not a big project then. It was just, small value in current context, not even 10,000 or
Yeah.
$15,000 worth of a contract. And when I quoted the contract or the order or the LOI came in writing,
Mhm.
without me following up or even visiting customer.
Mhm.
And we had given maybe about 100 US dollars equivalent as a earnest money deposit, which
Mhm.
means that if we don't honor the contract, that earnest money deposit would have got forfeited.
Right.
And when this purchase order came, my father had a look at the value of the purchase order. He realized I've done some blunder in the
Mhm.
calculations. And when he called for the file, I also quickly realized that, it was a calculation mistake and we were into loss. So the very first order what I quoted was turning out to be a loss making order. And my father asked me, I categorically remember, Sameer, what should we be doing with this? So I said, it's simple, instead of losing 3,000, 4,000 odd dollars, let's lose $100, which is a much lesser stake. He absolutely refused to, accept that. He made me execute that order. And from that day on, our organization is so customer centric that uh, we walk as many miles as we can to exceed customers' expectations. So the one thing he has taught is customer is king. And the third thing also he taught, Athwal, by the way, that was respond to every communication. Uh, those days it used to
Wow.
be letters and telexes only. Fax also came, I think,
Well,
somewhere not
he definitely gave you some really good principles, I think, that have stayed with you. Can I ask you, outside of the principles, those are good learnings, but as you know, with your vast experience across India, South Asia, I mean, we work obviously across the world, and we've seen with family businesses where that communication or that unity, that connectivity is not there sometimes with parents and the next generation. I know you haven't been through that, but what tips could you give based on the good things that you've been through for other families? How do you
so
ensure that you get that relationship right between first and second generation?
So I was partly coming to that actually. So
Great.
when he saw that these learnings, what he kind of inculcated in both of us, and we were implementing in day-to-day life, and he probably, saw us implementing those for good 8 years. He gave the baton to us, and the key was the strong bond what me and my brother had always,
Mm.
which we continue to have even till date, which is foundation of our current business, which is going to be foundation for next generation as well. I think communication is the key, right?
Mm.
And I would say a few things there from
Please.
family standpoint. One is uh, you should have spirit of sacrificing. It should be other person first rather than you trying to keep yourself at the front.
Mhm.
If you do that with a spirit of forgiveness, if that's there in your attitude, I don't think anything could ever go wrong between the family members. And secondly is communication. Often what happens, Adwal, is that we tend to keep things close to our chest, close to our heart, and keep those
Mm.
heartburns are generally there for years together, and that generally erupts someday, and it results in separation and all that stuff what we see in most of the business families, unfortunately. I think that honest communication and the environment and the framework
Mm.
which we had where we were not judgmental. Nobody was judgmental. So I think that became a strong basis, and that has
Mm.
become a way of life for us. It is now a culture for us. So that's the culture we have kind of formalized, and now it's part of our family constitution, which is kind of a guiding document for the next generation to come.
Absolutely. Why is it difficult? We talk about communication. We know it's important, but why do some family members with each other have difficulty in communicating with each other?
So communication, as I often say, by the way, in the family, it's not about what I'll end up saying or what I'll end up texting or sending an email. It's about what other person understands.
Mm.
If you can communicate by body language also without speaking anything. You're in a room, and if you have a swollen of face, you are communicating a lot, right? So it's all about what other person understands. And if you are not to any of the emotions of the other person at that point of time, I think battle is kind of won. And that's to my mind, communication, frank, honest, transparent communication without judging,
Mhm.
giving honest feedback, being open to a honest feedback.
Mhm.
As we often say, even within the company, by the way, that feedback is a gift. Only your well-wishers can give you, true feedback, not
But you've got to have some ground rules to make that happen, yeah. And that's where I suppose the family constitution code of conduct, like we've done probably about 128 of those now around the world. But for those people listening right now who don't understand what that is, it doesn't always have to be a thick, the thickest document in the world. But even if it's a few pages to start off with some basic ground rules, what are your values? What are your guiding principles? Would you agree? Because that starts the communication. If you don't have the bedrock of some basic ground rules, then people are left with, how do I seek to understand? How do I openly share what I want to share with my brother or my sister or my father?
There are no written set of ground rules, but I guess, yes, we do often talk about values in our family constitution meetings, which we have once in a quarter religiously.
Mhm.
Integrity being one of those. And when we say integrity, it's in the context of do what you say. We are trying to keep it very simple. All we are saying is do what you say, period, nothing else. Secondly is about care. And care comes in context of, I would say, not only empathy, but psychological safety. So that's also, if the family member could be a child, could be a brother, sister, parents, whosoever, if they feel psychologically safe that they can open out, they can talk whatever they want, they
Mhm.
won't be judged. The other person is not going to jump to any conclusion. The other person is going to put himself or herself in your shoes and try to wear your hat and then think accordingly. I think nothing can go wrong. It's also about frequent communication. It's not that you'll end up communicating only when you have an issue. Good times, bad times. It got to be a way of life. Since years, me and my brother have been staying together, literally together, in the near vicinity, and we make it a point since I don't know how many years having.
I mean, 30% of family businesses, I mean, you're in the 30% club, that get to second generation. Obviously, the numbers deep go down after this to 12 to whatever, 15%. And obviously, the 3% club, fourth, fourth generation, 100 plus year legacy. I mean, it gets more complex, doesn't it? If you, by the time you take the next generation now, third generation, the dynamics there, the wealth that you've created as the second generation to support that generation has also changed. What are your thoughts on how do you get that right? With more members at third generation, more spouses will come in, male and female, and they will bring their values to the table, their opinions. There's a whole bunch of stuff there to consider for the next gen. What do you think?
Uh, that's very interesting point you have made as well, and I'll bring in couple of thoughts around this point what you have made. One is when family members get added, be it spouses or whosoever, it's very important to put conflict on the table and keep on aligning. And it is not a destination. It's not about one conflict. Fact remains we all have issues. Fact remains we all have conflicts. Fact remains we will always have difference of opinion. All fingers cannot be the same, but
Mhm.
thumb has the role to play, and so has the little finger. So we got to be seeing in a family that what is the value add or the contribution that person is making, rather than trying to get into us, pardon my word, stupid comparison of I am better or he is better or she is
Right.
better. Once you start looking at what other person is contributing to your success, to your family, and keeping relationship as the key driver, then of course you'll end up taking the right steps. For example, I would say in our case, very, very clearly we say that what is good for business
Mhm.
is good for family. It's not the other way around. This is one philosophy we strongly follow. Every family constitution meet, which happens once in a quarter, one of the slides on the deck has got 3 or 4 philosophy bullet statements. One of them is what's good for business is good for family. And other statement we often talk about is equal is not always fair, and fair is not always equal.
Mm.
In the context of five fingers I was talking about,
Yeah.
each one of us, by the way, not only brother and sisters in a family or family members, each one of us have got unique set of qualities. So if you can just identify the qualities part of it and see how we can support each other, how we can collaborate, how it can be a win-win, uh, by having some kind of I would say a measurement tools also in place so that it is transparent, visible, known to all. I think many generations can work together. Why only third? Why only fourth? And by the way, I strongly opine and sincerely opine that uh, in second generation of business, you'll end up creating a lot of value. And 93% of the business families all across the world, which you might be also having the data, I'm sure, do land up separating out when third or fourth generation comes in. Imagine the value we land up destroying by actually separating out. The good work done by uh, parents and your forefathers, etc., goes down the drain. So once this concept of protecting wealth for benefit of families, benefit of communities, benefit of nations, benefit of generations to come, if that gets clearer in next generation, I think today's generation is educated enough. They have concern for society, they have concern for environment, they believe in principles of sustainability. They would work for the cause. But the key is that you got to often talk about it. We shouldn't expect it's going to happen automatically. We need to keep talking. We need to keep reminding.
Can I ask you, Sameer, you mentioned something very interesting earlier about what's good for the business is good for the family. Again, there's no right or wrong way. I think everyone's got their own philosophy as a family and their own DNA way of operating. But I have seen enough evidence where third, fourth, and one case study in particular with a 12th generation family business, where there was a shift after the fourth generation, where they were essentially a business family, but wanted to shift to them becoming a family business. And what that really meant in their eyes was around the dinner table, every social gathering, everything was about business. It was all about business first, family second. And they realized as the family became bigger, the shift had to happen to put family first and business second. Now, that doesn't mean that we disregard the business. There's a balance there. Growth has to be there, liquidity for the future, reserve funds, manage the welfare for the family. But they had a huge shift to be successful to focus more on the family. So sometimes people say, yeah, we spend a lot of time with family, but essentially the time they spend is just talking about the business around the dinner table. What are your opinions around some of the things I've said?
My opinion, and partly I would say experience also, Athwal, I would say treat business like a family and family like a business. And there got to be all elements into it. You should not, I won't say you can't, you should not be only talking business as and when you meet. There got to be a lot of commitment of time where you actually bond, you crack jokes, you laugh it out. Again, the key is so to my mind, why it happens, the point what you made, uh, as and when communication is limited only for sake of business, while business might come first, and if success of business would keep families together, which is the end result, that's not the path, that's the end goal, right? But at the same time, if we are only communicating for reasons of business, then we are actually not sharing, we are actually not caring, we are actually not bonding. And unless and until you bond at deeper level, and understand other person's mindset, other person's pain, other person's happiness,
Right.
other person's successes, failures,
Because everyone's got their own personal needs, haven't they? Everyone's got different needs as a family member.
Exactly. So that's not to my mind, that's not caring. And I said care is a very important value what we focus on. So that got to be pretty much there for keeping generations and generations to be together. So one of the things what we have done is very interesting, by the way. Of course, there has been learnings. I've been reading a lot of books around family constitution, meeting a lot of good old families where fourth, fifth, sixth generation also in this country have been working together. we have not only this family constitution, what we have done, Adwal, is that all our businesses, they are owned by trust.
Yes.
So none of us are owning any shares in any business. So that's a journey still. It's kind of work in progress, but the thought process is pretty clear.
There's pros and cons there, isn't there, as well, of having a
Pros
trust?
and cons, yes. Everything in life will have pros and cons,
Yeah.
including work from home. But the point is, the culture what we have tried to create is that we are custodians of wealth. Which when you start thinking that I am a owner, at time it drives a wrong behavior. Vis-a-vis, when you think you are a custodian of wealth, which is to be used for a larger cause, then you start looking at life slightly differently. So that's, again, as I said, you have to keep on doing awareness sessions. It's not that you write a document and life is all set. It doesn't happen that way. Like in our family, I am playing that role currently, hoping one of the days my brother or somebody else is going to play that role. We call it CEO of the family. CEO is nothing but Chief Emotional Officer. So unless and until we connect at emotional level, it's not going to
You're
succeed.
100% right, because the research we've done the last 19 years, we've identified many emotional blockages within families. And you're right, you could create your family constitution, but you could also rip it up and throw it in the bin unless you are on a regular basis having that communication, the awareness session, like you said, and sorting out the underlying emotional blockages, because they're bound to come up. There's always new ones going to come up every year. And we have to deal with them faster, not put it under the carpet or out of respect in our cultures, because we can't speak up and talk about how we're feeling. We then end up internalizing it, and eventually that will blow up at some stage. There'll be a volcanic eruption at some point.
Exactly.
So I'm glad. I like your acronym of CEO. I think that's good. I've spent a lot of time, I know, speaking about family. We've got a couple of other questions, and maybe we could shift to the business side. I'm sure some of our viewers want to know more about business growth and some of the great things that Jakson Group's doing. But what's your thoughts culturally in India, with daughters coming into the business or spouses allowed to work in the business? What's your thoughts around some of these things, which are historically a no-go area?
So in our case, I'm sharing my example. I have two sisters. They chose to be not to be part of the family business. Now my two sons are married. My brother also has got two sons. Incidentally, none of us have got daughters, but the daughter-in-laws already are part of the company.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
And in the constitution document, what we have written down, we are pretty clear that in next generation, we are going to treat both, daughters, daughter-in-laws, son-in-laws, everybody kind of alike. So that at least, from...
Yay, well done. It's about time we see more of that, especially in India, from what I've gathered over the last few decades. We need a shift there. I like the idea of having that equality within your constitution, because these days, a lot of the female bloodline descendants and spouses, in this case, like you mentioned, they have fire in their belly. They have some great contribution they can give to the family business, and it gives them a sense of belonging as well.
Not only sense of belongingness, the little experience, since my sons got married pretty recently, what I've witnessed is this very principle of equality. That also, build up the bond big time.
Very good.
Which leads to eventually success of the family.
Yeah, I like it. So again, I could spend another 5 hours asking you questions on the family piece, but let's talk about the business side. From your father building the business and then handing over to the next gen, you and your brother, when was the turning point on the business side that allowed you to build such a massive conglomerate now with so many business units, dealing with thousands of employees and tens of thousands of customers, channel partners, expanded globally? I've seen some of the pictures of the solar plants. I mean, phenomenal, huge projects. When was the turning point of that growth?
So as I said, my brother and me, we joined in a time frame of a couple of years in 1989 and 91 respectively. We were a single business company then. For good 8 years, we were trying to do all crazy things in terms of within our own limited manner, trying to do whatever innovation we could do into our businesses in terms of processes, if not on products. And then in 2000, our father, he didn't retire. He was pretty much active on the board, but day to day he was not involved. Since last 15, 18 years, he has not even signed the balance sheet. He gave that responsibility to us. We were just about in 2000, year 2000, we were just about 10 million US dollar company. Today we are close to about 350 million plus.
Yes.
And touch wood, that confidence on each other between the two brothers did play a role. It played a big role for us to grow. And I remember again, one of the olden days, I did ask my father, what is the basis of taking a decision in the company? And we both were sitting, we were having dinner together. And what he said was, there is only one basis, that is that decision going to benefit company or not? In the process, you will do mistakes. That's why we call it profit and loss account. We don't call it a profit account.
Exactly. What's some of the biggest mistakes that you've made, that you've learned lots from on your business journey?
I'll come to that in a sec.
Sure.
So you would lose money, you would make money, but there got to be learnings. And if you can ensure that you don't repeat the same mistake again, the mistakes are worth it. And there is no individual, to my mind, I would be knowing, who has not done mistakes.
That's right.
So this is what happened in 2000. In year 2000, everything was going fine. We did our own share of mistakes. In 2008-9 came Lehman Brothers crisis, which was a global crisis. Our business revenues fell straight away by 30% in a short span of 1.5 years. We didn't know what to do. We were sitting on a high fixed cost. We started partly losing money for a short while though. That is the time. That was the learning again. That was the time we decided that we will not put all the eggs in one basket. Yes. We kind of had one of the big fours, without naming the big fours, and did a strategy session for 2 years. It ran for good 2 years to identify what core competency of the company was. And then we figured out that, yes, we would get into solar and EPC simultaneously. This was a decision we took back in 2012, right. Where our revenues were just close to maybe 100 million US or 120 million US in 2010. And once we started diversifying, again, during the process of diversification, there were sets of mistakes we did in terms of processes, in terms of people, in terms of structures, and we continue to learn. So I would say that till such time you're open to learn, open to reflect, and it's a never-ending process, by the way. Not that you do some kind of few courses or read few books.
So can I ask you, Sameer, just to come in, all the areas that you've expanded into, has there been a link? I understand the history of the company, getting into, so I'm not a technical person like you in your industry, but diesel genset, is that right? And then sort of moving into solar, and then getting into EPC. And for those who don't know, EPC, if it's new to you, engineering, procurement and construction solutions. And then I noticed when I was doing some research on your website that, what's this new area, hybrid solutions? What's all that about?
I'm glad that you have browsed through it. It's, of course, hybrid solution is, again, it's more around figuring out a solution where partly it's fossil fuel, partly it's storage, partly it's renewable. Right? I'm trying to explain it in a layman's language. Partly it's combination of, how you can optimize your fuel so that cost gets optimized, and you're also able to focus on sustainability as well as environment. So this climate change is going to drive a very different behavior in times to come by regulators, by CEOs, by businesses, by governments all over the world. And we will see this transition happening towards fuels which are not polluting the environment.
Got it.
It could be biofuels, it could be synthetic fuels, it could be hydrogen as a storage, it could be lithium as a storage solution. A lot of technologies are being worked upon. So hybrid is a broader term used to kind of define what kind of technology you want to use in what proportion to solve energy problem of the other person. So that's what it's all about.
You've come a long way, haven't you, from that diesel type business $10 million business to now $350 million business. So what are the lessons there for people listening right now where sometimes, they're stuck to their core business for 20, 30, 40 years and they're not embracing change. They're not embracing innovation. I see this time and time again with family businesses who are stuck and they're not prepared to take that risk and step forward with both feet and go, right, let's do this. Why is that?
So you rightly said it, Athwal, by the way, change is the only constant. And if you don't change your or reinvent your business model, I would say have that agility and keep on reviewing it in a timely manner. A day would come where it's going to die down or might become insignificant, if not dying down. So what we, at least in our company, what we do is we have a group of people who keep on focusing on future. As we talk, we are, by the way, even focusing on what we should be doing 5 years out or 10 years out.
Yes.
So we know, we could, sense it that while we talk of diesel, right? While generating sets are going to stay, fuel might change for that matter. It's about polluting fuel. It's not about the equipment per se. Storage would come in, as I was talking about. So the point I want to make is that you got to be focusing on your current business, which is pretty stable, giving you stable returns. You got to be focusing on horizon 2, as we say, which is going to give you returns over next 5-7 years. It's going to generate cash. And there got to be a group of people who is just focusing into future. That may not be giving you revenue today. That won't give you profit today. It might be only cost. But at some point of time, that's going to convert into both revenue and profit. And by the way, that can only happen. Not only that, you kind of need to be innovating, focusing on future. It's all about having right people. Recently, my brother and myself, as I said, learning is a continuous process. Brother and myself, we did an executive course from Harvard, as recent as maybe 3 years back or 4 years back. And one of the great learnings was, people come first, followed by processes, because people make processes, processes don't make people. Followed by planning and performance. So 4 P's is what we often talk about in this company also now. And it gives so much of clarity that last few years, ever since both of us have done this course from Harvard, we are just focusing on people and, working on not only skill set, but having people whose values are aligned with us.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I like the idea, first of all, I think, again, for the viewers, build your future team in parallel with your existing team. I think that is a huge lesson right there. And I think I totally agree with you about values. We've seen many people in organizations over the years, Sameer, who, they perform, but you can see there's conflict. They're not aligned with values. So maybe you can expand a bit more. Why are values so important?
So values, of course, are pretty important. It is, first of all, your business values got to be having some correlation with your personal values or family values, right? When we talk of our business, we did a session where leadership team was also involved, spent good 2 days on offsite, brainstorming as to what it means to us, what really excites us, what we are passionate about in terms of values, not about the business or performance. And, we came out with clear 5 values. It's about integrity, customer centricity, innovation, teamwork, and care. Integrity, as I said, is pretty simple. It's not the dictionary meaning. We are saying that do what you say, just honor your commitment. If you make a promise to any of your colleagues, just ensure it happens in a timely manner. Customer centricity for us is exceeding customers' expectation. And when I say customer, it is both internal and external. It's not limited to just, external set of customers, what we generally get confused about. Innovation, again, is being creative. It's doing something different. I remember I was fortunate to be a part of that program, which was Champions of Change. It was hosted by Honorable Prime Minister of India. And his comment was that without innovation, there is going to be stagnation. And it's about way of life. It's not about product alone. We often get confused that when we talk about innovation, it got to be on the product. Innovation can be in any part of your life, the way you live, the way you eat, the way you drink, the way you conduct anything for that matter. And teamwork again is the next value which is very important to us. Teamwork for us is, at least to me, I always think that how can I contribute to success of the other person. To me, that is teamwork. And that eventually results into a whole lot of collaboration. And finally, it's care is very close to our hearts. We really mean it. So it's beyond empathy. It's
These are
about
the values that you integrate with the key team. Yeah. Can I ask you, Sameer, maybe, I know you've got a very, very successful business, one of the leading companies in India and expanding globally. But with this year right now, 2020, with the pandemic situation and COVID-19, there are many small to medium-sized enterprises as family businesses that are suffering right now, bleeding. Some of them won't make it this year, unfortunately, which is very sad. So anyone who's listening right now, it doesn't matter what size their business is, but is really suffering with the pandemic situation, what tips would you give them if you were in there right now with them and looking at their business? What could be 1, 2, 3, 4 things that they should consider doing to at least make sure that that family business has a chance to see 2021?
I think the single biggest tip I would give from business standpoint, I'm not talking of other tips, is to conserve resources.
Mm-hmm.
And resources is not only about finances. It's about human resources. You would be having good assets, good people in the company. Secondly is again, uh, I will say collaborate by communication. Empathize with your people, understand their personal issues. We are all going through emotional wreck, most of us, in COVID days, due to different reasons. Reasons could be very different. For a small business, reasons could be different. For employee, it could be different. For a large business, it could be a different reason altogether. But we are all going through emotional wreck.
Yes.
And unless and until we have we channelize this energy and we share, we won't be able to come out of this bondage. So all I'm trying to say is that it's all about connecting with people, be it a small industry or a large industry, and sharing of the emotions that can certainly solve the purpose, to my mind. Conserving all the resources, focusing on health, that is obviously the first priority currently. This is the time one can actually reflect back into his whatever number of years, see how he can take forward his learnings for future. That's exactly what we did. I think one has realized in last 3-4 months or 6 months that life is not only about what you are doing today. It's about the higher cause. You have to think beyond yourself, beyond your family. You have to think about society. You have to think about nation. I have spent a lot of time reading in last 6 months, particularly spirituality. Prior to that, I was focusing more on leadership and business related books. And something which in my head is pretty clear after reading a lot on spirituality in last 6 months is, keep your desires in control. And if you're able to do that, you will have enhanced pleasure, happiness, satisfaction. One of the equations, very interesting, Athal. One of the books what I was reading, it said man minus desires is equal to God. We can't be God, but we can definitely minimize our desires and keep them in a band, so that we are not endlessly running after pleasures or so-called perceived happiness by running after objects or persons. So this has been a learning, kind of a learning over last 6 months. So I think
I
to sum up, I
appreciate
would
that.
say,
Yeah, appreciate that. There's some good points you've made there. Appreciate that. And whoever's watching, watch the video again, watch the episode again, and maybe take on board some of Sameer's comments there. Let's go into the future for a second for Jakson Group, for you personally, your family, projecting out to December 31st, 2030.
2030. Okay.
10 years in the future. And for those of you watching in 2020, and hopefully there's people watching this right now in 2030. Thank you. And we'll see whether this has happened or not. So talk us through, we're together December 31st, 2030. I'm congratulating you, saying well done to the Gupta family. Fantastic job, Jakson Group. But what's happened looking back?
Thank you, Athwal. I'm already excited to hear this from you, first of all. So, at least in my head, I have already kind of, along with my brother, taken responsibility of creating an institution of this out of this family-owned business, and even trying to create an institution for the family as well, so that it remains till eternity, knowingly well that I'm going to be around for a limited number of years, and so are going to be most of us. But this company, this brand, what has been created with a lot of hard work of 70 odd years, should survive till eternity. So that's the whole objective. So in terms of our strategy, as I said, as you were also mentioning in the beginning, we have currently 5 businesses. Potential is huge. As we talk, despite COVID, we will be launching some new products in the month of October, which are related to, by the way, hybrid, what you were talking about. We call it as energy storage solution. That's what we intend to launch within a month.
That's great.
That futuristic products. We are talking about also, as I said, what could be the possible storage solution which will contribute to, self-reliant India, because we don't have enough deposits of lithium ion either. We will still remain dependent. So those are some of the technologies we are talking about. Currently, we are having revenues of almost about, as I said, close to 400, between 350 to 400 million US dollars. Very clearly, it could be 5 years, if not 4. We will be doubling the revenues very clearly. We would be 1 billion plus within next 3 to 4 years, and within 10 years, 2030, when we will meet before that also, by the way, not that we will be meeting only after.
For sure. Yeah, we'll wait till we can jump on planes again and not have to go on 2 weeks quarantine. I'll be there.
So there is no number in the head. We just have this number for next 3 to 5 years. But whole objective is to create a sustainable organization which will live for times to come. It's not only about the top line. It's about, by focusing on values, focusing on sustainability, how we can continue to grow profitably, so that we can effectively contribute to, all the stakeholders, which includes family, includes employees, includes, again, society, vendors, financiers, so on and so forth. So whole objective is to work towards creating.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. There's a lot to do there, and wish you all the best in making that happen. Can I ask you on a personal level, whether it's $400 million, $1 billion, or some families I've worked with at $5, $6 billion, it's all numbers. You get to some point, it's all numbers, okay? And when it comes to wealth creation for the family, once you've got your bucket list, as they call it, or your goal list of the things that you want to do or have, you don't really need a lot of money after you get to a certain point. I mean, you're only going to be you can only ever be in one yacht at a time, or being one home at a time. And some people are driven by, they're going to be on the front cover of Forbes or Fortune and be in the top 100 billionaire rich list. While there's others around the world that are now driven by, okay, we're going to keep growing, keep being profitable, keep innovating, but we're driven by something else, whether it's social impact or pledging our wealth into a foundation and doing good around the world. What are your thoughts around that wealth situation when you do become a $1 billion plus organization and your children and your grandchildren are going to be part of that? What happens with wealth?
So two clear things, at least both brother and me are very clear on this. This wealth and yachts and planes don't excite us at all, by the way. We are very simple people, very simple living, though very high thinking, very aspirational also. We have, of course, a lot of dreams, but it is not that those dreams will make us drive or take wrong direction. So we want to slow and steady wins the race is the fundamental we believe in. I think in my head, CSR philanthropy is way of life. We will keep doing it to best of our ability. Whether you may call it CSR, you may call it empathy, you may call it care, whatever word we may give to it, in our own base, we will keep on doing it. But to my mind, it's at least in my lifetime, Athal, I would define my success as keeping my family together and continue to have that bonding with all within my family, including next generation and the previous one. If I'm able to achieve that effectively, I think I'm going to be pretty happy in my life.
Nice answer. You didn't really answer my question, but you did. Okay, but I like it. I like it. It's good because you're absolutely right. If any of you get a chance, go to the description area All the details are there for Jakson Group. Go and check out the company, find out more about what Sameer and his brother are doing right now. And you're absolutely right, Sameer. There's a lot of good things you've already done, whether it's called social impact or CSR. It's already part of your culture at Jakson Group. So, congratulations. It's not like you're aspiring to get there. You're already doing it, and you'll probably just end up doing more of it as you create that wealth. One last question, just as we start to wrap up. Everyone goes on their own journey in life, and you get to a point in life where there's things that you know that you don't know, and there's things that you know that you know, okay? What are those one or two things that you absolutely know that you know based on business and growing a business and getting it right? What last piece of wisdom can you share with us and the viewers so there's a bit of take-home value from this episode? What are the things that you know based on your business journey?
So that's a very interesting question. I would say be very clear on your objective. If you are very clear on your objective, just have that passion to keep on pursuing it for a cause. It can't be for self-gain. If it is for self-gain, that means you lack clarity on your objective. So if that objective is clear, generally, most of the times, while there could be hurdles in the journey, but outcome is going to be good to my mind. Again, that's a sharing of an experience. Business and money is all a byproduct, Athal, as I keep saying. And what I don't know, I think I don't know nothing, in the sense there is so much to learn. It's crazy. Yeah. The more you hear, the more you read. These days, 1 hour in the morning every day religiously, with thanks to COVID, I listen to spiritual discourses, and with every discourse you land up picking something new, which kind of hits you, strikes you. So I don't think in this lifetime, at least I will be able to say, I can't comment about nobody else. I don't think I will be able to say that yes, I know everything. It's impossible, at least in my case.
I like it. Well, I like the first response, which is about being really clear on the objective. I think these days there's a lot of confusion, and when there's more than, in your case, 2-3 family members, large family groups, there is a lot of disalignment because everybody has a different view on what the objective should be, what the vision should be, what should we do with the business. It reminds me many years ago being in a room where 3 family members are in the room, one saying, want to build $1 billion company. The second one says, no, we just want steady growth, be highly profitable, look after the welfare for the family, we're good. And the third one is the next gen member going, well, I don't even want to be here. So, I think there's one thing is about your own objective, but I believe there also has to be alignment for the family to grow together and continue on that journey. Otherwise, you have got people going in different directions, and that's why we see so many families split, around the world. And obviously, we want to avoid that with all the clients, and as well as great case studies like yours to make sure that doesn't happen. But on that note, is there anything else you'd like to share before we close off? Any other words in conclusion?
Not really. Wonderful interacting with you. Again, to sum up, I would say objective in life is very, very important. It's not about what you acquire in your lifetime. It's all about what you share in lifetime. So you keep on acquiring the hell what you want, but at the same time, if you keep on sharing also, I think you could be a lot more happy, satisfied soul. So that's the only thing I would say. Pleasure interacting, and I do definitely look forward to meet you sometime in person as well.
Yeah, we look forward to it. We really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. So Mr. Sameer Gupta, Chairman and Managing Director of Jakson Group, second generation member. You've heard about the story of this great family and what they're doing. Don't forget to go down to the description area, hit the like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn, and don't forget to find out more about Jakson Group. All the details are below, and hopefully you get a chance to connect directly with Sameer and the family as well if you feel there's an opportunity for some alliances, or maybe there is a new channel partner opportunity here with the group. I'm sure Sameer will be open-minded to finding out more about what could be on the table. So on that note, thank you very much, Sameer, one last time. God bless you, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.